here's the thing with economists, right? They're great, right? But they have no idea about property. None. Zero, right? Because they think about real estate as a financial asset where it's not, right? And so you've got all these economists in the media saying things like interest rates are going up and therefore the property market is going to crash, right? So what that makes people think is that interest rates up, property prices down. And that is, I'm just going to say it again really clearly, and I'm not going to mince my words, that is nonsense. It is factually incorrect, right? So, for example, 88 to 89, interest rates rose from 14% to 17%, so 3% interest rate rise from 14% to 17%. What did house prices do? Went up by 35% over that same period of time. 1994, interest rates rose by 2%. House prices continue to go up. There's loads of examples like this. Even if we go a little bit more recent, if you go April 2001 to December 2003, interest rates went from 6 to 7%, and property markets rose. They hit record growth. More growth in many areas than we've even had in the recent boom. December 2003 to July 2008, they went from 6.5% to 9%. Again, growth rates went up, right? It's like there is no correlation between rising interest rates and falling house prices. And in fact, over the last between 1993 and 2022, the only times where growth rates went negative in property markets as a whole, like when those 15 major areas when they dropped and went negative, which is actually real price decline, was at times when interest rates were declining. Right, so get your head around that. So the only times where property prices went negative was during periods where interest rates were declining. Now, I am not saying that when interest rates go down, prices go down, because that is also not true. But this whole kind of like rhetoric that is out there that is saying interest rates go up, prices go down, it is absolute nonsense, and it's factually untrue.
Do you not find it interesting? I find this incredibly interesting how we often simplify something to this untrue point. It's like the idea that interest rates are the decider on all these other factors, right? It's like, whatever interest rates are doing sums up the entire Australian economy, property market, business, all the rest of it. And your point before, I still think this is like, if people can take one thing from this episode, the idea that interest rates going up might actually be a good thing for more affordable areas. It might actually be a tailwind, a driving force in affordability. Or it's actually a sign the economy's doing really well and prices might go up in your other example here. My finding though, and this is something I would love to get your opinion on, Goose, is that for a lot of people, they zoom in too close. So like they're really, really close to what's happening like week to week, day to day, month to month. And when we hear of things like an interest rate change, it's like, there's like this jerk reaction to it. When the idea being is like, we know like historically and likely going forward, interest rates are going to change. They're going to go up, they're going to go down, they're going to go sideways, like it's going to happen. It's knowing that you're far better to be a little bit more strategic and go, well, if I know this, I'm going to have the appropriate reserves on hand. I'm going to buffer my accounts so that if interest rates go up, I'm going to be fine with any loans I have. Or my business. Hey, do you know what? Recessions have happened and will happen again in future. It's likely. Why don't I make sure I build a good business that can get through those times or have adequate buffering in as well? So do you think this is a case where people get too close to it and maybe they aren't zooming out and playing a longer game?
I absolutely think that. Right? Because, everyone is being too reactionary generally, right? I think that's symptomatic of loads of other aspects of our society. And I think that it is good to intake information, but what you need to be careful about is how you respond or react to that information. Because you're right, like this kind of stuff happens. It's not the first time it's happened. It's not going to be the last time it happens, but then also people need to zoom out and look at the perspective and the context of it. It's like, even if interest rates went up by a few percent, a few percent, it's still going to be ridiculously low compared to historical averages. And guess what? Really massive successful businesses have been grown when interest rates have been way higher. So and there's been recessions and there's been all of this kind of stuff. So stop thinking about, these kind of short-term, hurdles, because you're not actually going to be making strategic business decisions, right? And just kind of looping back to the point about, regions and all of that kind of stuff. What's actually really important to work out is like, where is the revenue going, right? Because like in any business, to work out how to build a successful business or to make sure that you're going to be able to, continue to generate revenue, be cushioned from these kind of, noises in the market or these economic realities or that kind of stuff, is to work out where demand is going and then go stand in front of it, right? That is really the secret, right? You've got to go, where are people going? What do they want, right? And how do I then go and stand in front of that demand, right? And so we talk about, regions are performing well and are likely to continue performing well for some time, right? That is my belief, but it's also backed up by a lot of evidence and facts, right? So, but the really interesting thing about this and why and how this relates back to interest rates, though, is that rents are going up massively, right? So we've got massive rental shortages, and so working out what type of asset to buy and then thinking about, okay, well, what if interest rates do go up? You should also be choosing to buy in locations where rents are rising really, really fast, right? Because that means your income is going to keep up with or outpace increased expenses as well, right? So if you can then think about how to do that, that is really good. That is the equivalent in your business of charging more for the same offer, right, and making more margin, right? So therefore, if your business costs go up and you charge more for the same product, then it kind of doesn't matter, right? Now that's not about price gouging. That's not about going to your tenants and saying, I'm going to screw you over. It's not. It's just about resetting rents at market value periodically, and that's fair. I don't think anyone can argue with that, right? So, but then that is a really strategic way to act that will allow you to sleep at night, right? And it's the same thing that goes in business as well.